Welcome. In this video, we will show how to use the MR-400 Series Configuration software to create a program job file that can be loaded into the control panel. The MR-400 Configurator application is used to program the 400 series addressable control panels. While this can be viewed on its own, it could also be helpful to follow along with the video's instructional segments. The configuration utility can be downloaded through links found in the video description below. When the configuration utility is first installed, the user preferences options are presented. These options include selecting the serial port your computer will use to connect to the panel. These options can be changed later under the File menu. The File menu of the MR-400 Configurator has functions for database management, user preferences, and printing. Options include backing up and restoring the database, compacting it for performance, setting user preferences, and managing print jobs. The utility provides a straightforward interface for maintaining and managing the system's database and user settings. This slide presents an overview of the job menu. The menu includes options to create, open, import, export, and manage different versions of jobs, which are the database files configured in the software and sent to the panel. It provides functionalities for job validation, converting, and comparison of job versions. The Insert menu allows users to add various components to the fire alarm system configuration job. Options include adding loop controllers, display adders, devices, groups, and correlations. Some commands may be unavailable depending on the context within the user interface. For additional contextual options, right-clicking in different areas of the configuration is suggested, as this can bring up more direct options for the selected item. The Edit menu contains commands for managing items within the software. It includes options to delete, modify, copy, and paste items. The availability of these commands depends on the user's current selection in the interface. To check the version of the MR-400 Series Configurator utility, open the software. Navigate to the top menu bar. Click on the Help menu, typically located at the far right of the menu bar. In the drop-down menu that appears, select About MR-400 Series Configurator Utility. A pop-up window will display the version number of the software and the database version, along with the date and time of the last update. To create a new job in the MR-400 Series Configurator utility, follow these steps. Select Job from the top menu, then choose New Job, or use the keyboard shortcut Ctrl+N to open the Create Job dialog. In the dialog, enter the name of the job in the provided field. You must also enter details in the comments section, which is mandatory. From the drop-down menu, select the appropriate model number of the control panel for your project. In this case, select 400. After filling in the necessary details, click OK to proceed with creating the new job. The Job Details view is displayed when Job Details is selected from the job tree on the left side of the interface. This job tree allows you to configure various elements of the panel hardware and circuits. By expanding the nodes of the tree, you can access additional items for configuration. The main window shows options for operation modes, such as manual signal silence, fire drill, and enabling Class A loop supervision, among others. It also provides settings for evacuation codes and agency selection, as well as various other options to tailor the panel's operation to specific requirements. In the Job Details Options section, you can enable the signal silence and fire drill functions on the control panel. Additionally, you can set the synchronization protocol for signaling devices connected to the onboard notification appliance circuits. For these devices to function correctly with the sync feature, they must be configured as strobe type within the NAC settings. Users can also specify the strobe type from a drop-down menu that includes options such as MERCOM, Gentex, System Sensor, and WeLock. There are other configurable options available, which are detailed in the Help dialog or the installation manual. These include settings for water flow delay operation, auxiliary disconnects, alarm transmission silence, and more. For setting up the NAC circuits, select Loop 0 Hardwired from the job tree. This represents the panel's onboard notification appliance circuits. To configure for synchronized audible and visual devices, change the type to strobe by double-clicking the cell and selecting from the drop-down. Label each circuit for identification using the tag line 1 and tag line 2 cells, providing custom text that describes the location or function of the circuit. Edit these by double-clicking each cell and typing the relevant information. This step should be repeated for each circuit listed. To add addressable devices to Loop 1, select Loop 1 from the job tree, which represents the onboard addressable loop circuit. Right-click in the blank area of the Loop 1 section to bring up the contextual menu for adding devices. From the menu, choose Add Device to initiate the process of adding a new device to this loop. After selecting Add Device from the contextual menu in Loop 1, the Add Device dialog box will appear. This is where you can specify the type of device, its address, and the number of devices you want to add to this loop. In the Add Devices dialog, you can select from various device types by clicking on the Type drop-down menu. Choose the smoke sensor, Photo 4010, from the device models available for installation. You should refer to the respective datasheets and installation manuals for detailed information on each device type. After selecting the device type, you can choose the appropriate mounting base type from the Options drop-down menu. For this example, select NAB non-addressable base, as this is the standard mounting base. This selection corresponds with the chosen device type and is necessary for proper installation and operation. After choosing the device type and mounting base, you can specify how an activated device should be processed by the control panel. Click on the Process As drop-down menu. Choose Alarm Input for devices that should trigger an alarm state. The installation manual will have more details on other process types and their implications for system behavior. In the Add Devices dialog for Loop 1, you can assign an address to your device by selecting from the Address drop-down menu. The configurator automatically suggests the first available address, but you can choose any unused address. For devices with multiple sub-address points, they will be designated as subsequent numbers like 1.2, 1.3, and so forth. Select the default address of 1. Once assigned, addresses can be adjusted later if needed. You have the option to specify the number of devices you want to add. Here, we've adjusted the quantity to add 6 smoke detectors. Upon confirming the addition by clicking Add, these devices will populate in the system starting from the first available address and continue sequentially. This feature is useful for efficiently adding multiple devices of the same type to your configuration. After adding the photo smoke detectors to Loop 1, the configuration process continues with the addition of a dual input module. This is selected by changing the device type to dual input 4040, 4041, and setting the option to Class B. The process is defined as alarm input. Only one device of this type is being added at this point, so the number to add is adjusted to 1. After setting these parameters, clicking Add will include this module in the system configuration. The dual input module is set with a Class B option, providing 2 input addresses under one physical address. Here, the physical loop address is 7, with 7.1 as the primary input and 7.2 as the sub-addressed input. This configuration means that although 2 separate inputs are programmable, they occupy a single physical address on Loop 1. An addressable manual pull station uses a dual input mini module with Class A wiring. The following settings are used in the configuration. The device type is set as dual input 4040, 4041. The wiring option selected is Class A. The device is set to be processed as alarm input. The number to be added is specified as 1. After these selections, click Add to include the manual pull station in the system configuration. When you add a dual input module with a Class A option in the configurator utility, it's assigned a single address, which in this case is 8.1. The options column indicates the wiring type as Class A, and the F3 column reflects this with a CA label, signifying that it is set up in the Class A wiring style. This setup will occupy one physical address on the loop and enables the connection of a device, such as an addressable manual pull station that is factory wired as Class A. To add a relay module, select Dual Relay 4045 as the type. Set the process type to Relay and enter 1 in the Number to Add field. After setting these parameters, click on the Add button to include the relay module in your configuration. This will add the relay module to the primary address 9.1 on the loop. Adding a dual relay module results in a device that has a sub-address. This means each of the module's 2 relay contacts can be controlled independently, though they share a single physical address on the loop. Such a setup is particularly useful for applications like elevator recall, where primary and alternate functions can be managed by a single device. Address 9.1 is the main address, and 9.2 serves as the sub-address for the second relay contact. Adding a dual sensor with an addressable relay base will create 3 addressable points linked with 1 primary address. To add this device, select Photo 135 4020 as the type, which is a photoelectric smoke sensor with a 135 degrees Fahrenheit fixed temperature heat sensor. For options, choose ARB addressable relay base. Set the process as to alarm input. Enter 1 for the number to add and click on Add. In this case, the device will be added with the primary address of 10.1. A single device with 3 programmable points is created. In this configuration, the primary address 10.1 is assigned to the photo smoke sensor. The sub-address 10.2 is designated for the 135 degrees Fahrenheit fixed temperature heat sensor. The addressable relay base is given address 10.3. Each of these points is programmable independently but shares 1 physical device location and occupies a single address on loop 1 of the fire alarm control panel. This efficient use of addresses allows for a streamlined and organized configuration of the system's components. We have a small system with 14 points programmed using 10 physical loop addresses. This is not a real project, but used to demonstrate basic workflows and functionalities. Let's move on with the actual programming. Adding tags, displayed info for the devices, and then correlations, linking input and outputs together. Some fields can be modified by double-clicking in the cell and choosing the options available. The F columns, flags, can be set to define certain functions depending on the device type. Some of these are NS, non-silenceable, CA, Class A, NF, no flash device LED, and others. Refer to the help file for more details. Next, let's edit the tags for each device first. Edit the device tags to match what is shown. You may want to pause the video to get all tags edited. When you have completed adding the device tags, see if you can spot an issue with one of the device's type setting. We need to adjust the device type for the valve tamper device to be a non-latching supervisory instead of the default selection of alarm input. Double-click the cell to modify its selection and choose non-latch supervisory. Remember, when adding multi-input devices, all points on the device will default to the selected type and may need to be modified to match the proper process selection for your needs. Adding correlations refers to programming relationships between input devices like smoke detectors or input modules and output functions such as alarms or relays. This step is crucial for creating a responsive alarm system. Correlations can be configured in 2 ways: by setting inputs to activate specific outputs or by selecting an output to be triggered by designated inputs. The latter approach can be more efficient, as it often involves fewer steps due to systems typically having less outputs than inputs. The following will show examples of each. To correlate devices, right-click on the device, in this case the first smoke detector in our job, and select the Add Correlations option. The correlation dialog opens. This shows all circuits that are available to be correlated to the device we selected. There are 4 tabs: Signal, Relay, Display, and Output zones. We will correlate our selected device to activate all 4 floors of NAC circuits. Click on the NAC Floor 1 circuit and click Add. You can also double-click to add it directly. The NAC Floor 1 circuit is removed from the selection area and now shows as a correlated circuit in the Correlation Details window. The Correlation Details window shows the correlations for the currently selected circuit, in this case, Smoke Detector Floor 1 Electric Room. Let's add the other NAC circuits to this device. We can add multiple selections at the same time. Hold Ctrl and left-click to select each of the remaining circuits. When the circuits are highlighted, click on Add, then close the dialog. When a device is selected, the Correlations Details area will display associated correlations in the Correlations window. Here we can see the first smoke detector is correlated to the all 4 NACs. Deleting a correlation is done by editing the correlated devices in the Correlations window. Selecting a device in the Details area shows its correlations below. In the Correlations window, right-click on the correlation and then select Delete to remove it. You can also select it and press Delete on your keyboard. Let's remove NAC Floor 4. Next, adding multiple circuit correlations. Right-click on the next device, Smoke Detector Floor 1 Elevator Lobby, and select Add Correlations. Here we add 3 NACs by holding Ctrl and selecting the circuits. Next, we click on Add to correlate these. We also want to add the alternate floor relay activation, since this is the Floor 1 Elevator Lobby smoke detector. Select the Relay tab to show relays that can be correlated. Select the Elevator Recall Alternate Relay and add it to the device's correlations. After we close the dialog, we can view the correlations by clicking on the tabs in the Correlations Details area. So far, we have correlated 2 smoke detectors to the NAC circuits. Let's look at the NACs directly to view what is currently correlated to them. Select Loop 0 to view the NACs. We can select a NAC in the Circuit Details area and view the input devices or circuits that are activating it by looking in the Correlations Details window. This can be helpful to verify what devices or circuits have been correlated to an output such as a NAC or relay. Additionally, we can work with output circuits like NACs and relays by directly correlating inputs to them. Let's look at this next. Right-clicking on a NAC or relay will also allow for adding correlations. In this case, they will be input-type devices. We can select and add the alarm input devices from the correlation dialog. We can also select multiple circuits to add correlations at the same time. Here we select NAC2 and NAC3 and add all the alarm inputs at one time. This is an easy way to configure your system. By directly correlating to your outputs, NACs, relays, etc., you can quickly program your system instead of correlating each individual input device. Going back to addressable loop 1, we can look through the alarm input devices and now see they have correlations to the NACs because we did this in the previous step by correlating the alarm inputs to the NAC circuits. We haven't yet correlated the primary recall relay yet. Let's do that next. Select the relay for primary recall and right-click on it to select Add Correlations. Since it is an output device, we will see input devices that can be selected for correlating. Let's add the second and third floor elevator lobby smoke detectors. Once we have done this, we can then review our correlations for each device by highlighting and checking the correlations window to confirm everything. Lastly, let's configure the elevator machine room smoke, heat, and relay base. Here, we configure the smoke detector to activate the primary recall relay. Then, configure the heat detector to activate the relay base for a shunt trip signal. And then, configure a 45-second delay for the relay operation. This will delay the relay activation to allow time for the elevator to reach the primary landing before activating a power shunt operation. Bypass groups can be created to allow temporary bypassing of circuits and devices. Once a bypass group is created, it can be selected via the main LCD menu options on the FACP. When a bypass group is activated, the correlated devices and/or circuits are bypassed. Here, we are creating bypass groups for the NACS and elevator control relays. To create a bypass group, select bypass groups in the job tree, right-click in the blank area, select Add Group, add tags, and then correlate. To set up the built-in UDAC dialer for your fire alarm system, access the dialer configuration panel by selecting it from the job tree. Here, you can program the dialer settings to ensure communication with the central monitoring station via a telephone line. Enter the account and telephone numbers in the designated fields for each account. Configure the report format as required by the monitoring service. Common formats include Contact ID and SIA. Adjust the timers and dialer settings, including line retries. Verify all settings, especially the Enable checkbox, to activate the dialer. For comprehensive guidance, consult the panel installation manual, which provides specific instructions and important considerations for your system model and monitoring requirements. If you encounter any issues or need additional assistance, you can usually press F1 to access the help documentation within the software. To add an annunciator, right-click on the job details and select Add Annunciator. Select the type of annunciator that will be installed and click on Add. The Annunciator Node section of the job tree is now added. Added annunciators will now show in the RAM 3500 node tree section when expanded. The job configuration is now complete. Congratulations, you have learned the basics for working with the MR-400 Series Configurator utility. To connect and send a job to your panel, follow the detailed instructions in the installation and configuration guide manuals. Links to these and other documentation are shown in the video description below. Thanks for watching. For additional resources and information, please check the video description below.